you had a great month with all the great things happening around us. I'm particularly pleased about what happened to Trevor Noah. I think it's really magical for a South African voice to be out there in the American space. It will be interesting to see what's going to happen in the long run. But welcome here today at this particular Curiosita, and we're very pleased that we again have one of our PhD students with us. Jacques, welcome here.
Thank you.
And that we also have Dr. Ali Bacher. As you know, he's also received the Da Vinci Laureate Award from us, and as part of that engagement, he will share with you a bit around his views around leadership and just have a discussion and sharing that with you guys. So welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
It, as always, it's meant to be informal, and it's meant that we all should be involved. So the PhDs in the room and the masters, Maurice, let's hear your voices. I think Jacques is here because he must leave here, still as the same person, but surely with a better understanding of what he is grappling with in terms of his own research. Now, Jacques is a project manager at Anglo. So he works in a space that I think is very problematic currently in the development of the world, and particularly even in South Africa. So that in itself makes it an interesting space, Jacques. And his PhD title, as it currently is creating a model to better success rate of projects by focusing on a systemic approach. Now there are interesting assumptions, Charles, in this title. Tabo, there are very interesting assumptions. So I could start by asking what you think about that, but I'm not going to do that. I think what we're going to start off is just facilitating some question, Jacques, to get into the discussion. So maybe I want to start off again from an ontological perspective as a PhD, that you could share with us, who do we see, who can we expect when we meet Jacques? Where do you come from? What is this? Where you come from?
Oh, thank you for this opportunity. Well, let's start off with where I am, and that is basically since school, I was very interested in the construction industry, and even more so in the construction management. And I was on my path to do construction management, which was a 5-year course at this stage, and as it may be, I didn't get to it. However, I still pursued project management. It was my first job. It is still today. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. It's what I studied. And I've seen all different phases of projects and the management of projects, from start, execution, finish, handover, successful projects, lesser successful projects, projects in hospital. And what I'd like to do and what I've seen up to now is that for me it's sad to see a project fail, because there's so many good things in a project, and the need for a project as such is a business case on its own, and that project must deliver something. And it's sad to see that for any reason a project to fail. So what I'd like to do with my studies.
Okay, but before you get there, so that's where you come from. You come from a space you were interested in construction, you're interested in projects. So can we almost make an assumption that the world to you is fairly black and white?
Well, I will say I'm open for other shades of grey as well. Because I think as a project manager, nothing is really black and white.
Okay, thank you for that, because there's a colleague in the audience that would like to have a discussion with you on that later.
Excellent.
Welcome. Have a seat. So talk to us a little bit around, so that's where you come from. Your facts are important, being structured in terms of project, we can assume that's important for you. So how do you look at the world around you? Therefore, give us a little bit of your epistemological perspective around how does reality exist for you? How do you get your hands on understanding reality? What do you do?
I make them smaller projects.
So you break them up in pieces.
Now what I do is I see everything for what it is, and I try to understand where people or situations come from. And I think that's also very important as a project manager, to understand your stakeholders, because sometimes they can't even express what they want, but they want a project in doing it. And the people that you work with in the project environment, from black and white engineers to the HR managers that's maybe more into color or shades of grey.
Okay, so we've got white and black people as engineers and colored people as HR people.
Yes, that's it.
Just testing.
Excellent. I'll put it in my thesis. So you have to understand your stakeholders, and you have to understand what they're trying to say, even if they don't say it as black and white. And that's part of what I would like to bring into this, and that is that project management and the success of project management is not black and white. There's more to it.
Okay. All right. So I'm sitting somewhere in Helsinki, and I'm aware of this PhD student in South Africa working on this project framework from a systemic approach to increase success rate. What can I expect would be the outcome from a global perspective of your PhD? Why will I wait for you?
Well, the topic as such has changed since our last discussion as well. And that is that the topic is a bit vast. It's big, and it's very much, if I can call it that, too global. So what we discussed as well is that I will look at more specific into an industry that I know, which is the construction and mining. Mm-hmm. That's my experience, and the case studies that I will take on, and the audience that I will take on in my studies will be that of the mining industry. I'll definitely start off in South Africa. That's the easy ones, and then South Africa being a developing country, I will take it further international via the BRICS, the other developing countries, mm-hmm. and looking at the way project management has been adopted into the mining sector, which is a very much a line function, whereas the project environment is not at heart of a line function. It's more so the projectized environment and the line function environment is always clashing as well.
So there's a design dilemma there, an organizing dilemma.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Because your stakeholders and the people that you're doing the project for is in the line structure or the functional structure, whereas the team that's executing the project or doing the study into the execution, it's in a totally different environment, and the needs and the drive and the deliverables are sometimes perceived as different, and hence project fails.
Okay. All right. Could you tell us a little bit more on the methodology that you're considering for your research?
Yeah, what I'll start off as understanding what's the knowledge available is I'll discuss in my, and I'm only in chapter 2 now, so this is very helpful at this stage. I will look at what is seen as a project, what is seen as project management, and then also going into why projects do fail. If there's different reports, and the one that I'm thinking of now is the Chaos Manifesto that came out. It comes out every year, and the latest one said that projects in 2012 was only about 39% successful, which is sad. So I would like to go into that deeper and see, but why only 39%, and bring that out and see what is the correlation between what I see in my environment and what's there out in the academical field.
So share with us, so how are you going to integrate into that your notion of a systemic perspective?
What I'm going to do is I've got a problem, and that is that projects are failing. And sorry, I just want to take it from my notes here. Mm-hmm. And my thinking is that there must be a better balance between your project processes, your knowledge areas, your hard skills, your soft skills, and your company demand, and also the environmental demand. And your manager or the project team must be sensitive enough to manage all of these and juggle all of these. And I don't see it in my environment. I rather see it as a tick box exercise. If you've done this, you don't look at it again, it's past, let's carry on. And sometimes you have to go back. And although people promote going back, and some of the people in my environment say, yeah, but remember this, and it's all balanced and everything, you seldom go back. And I think that's part of where the problem is. And what I'll do is I'll take what I can get from my experience as well as in the academic field, and I'll draft a first order of a framework that I want to take up with academics and professionals in the field, maybe an audience of about 8 or 12 people, and we'll test this framework with them, debate it, workshop it through it as a focus group, and then out of that take my second draft of the framework.
Okay.
Then, okay.
All right, so let me interrupt for a minute. Simon, what do you hear from him in how he's approaching this?
He has actually spoken about qualitative and quantitative methods without specifically telling us that is methodology.
And do you get a sense that he's open-minded as a PhD to assume that projects don't work? Or
Yes.
does he want to force it to work?
In practice, projects do fail. So if his concern is that he wants to actually see how and why projects are failing, then it's obvious that he's also going to come with solutions to make them to continue to be sustainable and not to fail.
But Rika, is he going to do a project or is he going to do a thesis? What do you hear?
A project.
Can you tell him why?
Maybe in terms of the steps, and rather than the suspending of understanding what's happening here and then seeing what emerges.
So I think that, Franz, is an important piece that I just want to reflect on. It's almost if I get a sense, you say, well, I like projects and projects must work. But I'm not hearing that you suspending your judgment and saying, well, maybe the design of project was actually ill-defined. Because maybe you can change the world by coming up with the Pietersen frame that says until 2015 everybody believed projects can work. Until Pietersen came up and said projects don't need to work. But are you suspending your judgment?
It's difficult. I understand it, but it's difficult because the one thing that I need to remind myself and that my decision on a topic started about 2 or 3 years ago already, and since then I've changed a lot. Even though I haven't done any paperwork, I've changed a lot. And the biggest thing for me is to be objective and to be outside of my current frame of mind and to see what's coming through and understand what you're saying. But
Okay.
at this stage it's tough. Yes.
Well, that's a note that you can
Yeah.
take. Franz, do you want to add something to this, where we are now?
I guess I'm still struggling to sort of find that spot where he sees this is where the gap is and this is where I see I have potential to innovate. I still haven't quite heard where that is.
Yeah,
Speak to Franz.
probably the reason for that is I don't want to put the solution up front. I don't want to put a carrot in front of myself and work towards it.
Yeah, but I'm kind of
What-
looking at hypothesis. And I have an hypothesis that this is where because you've got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And that hypothesis may be right or wrong.
Yeah.
The question is, where do you see it?
Franz, must it be a hypothesis or can it be an idea just?
That can, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it can be an idea, but to be tested.
All right.
I really want to pursue that and see where it takes me.
For me, because project management at this stage is what I see is too much of a tick box exercise. People are not sensitive enough for change, and it's adopting the change into your hardcore project processes. And some of it is soft skills, some of it is regards to how to manage your people, others are environmental changes, and I struggle to see that coming into a project with limited effect on the success of the project. As soon as something changes in your in your structure of how you set it up, because you start with the project here, but you only end up hand over the project in 5 years from now. Because you've got all of that on paper, you tend to stick to it. But in 5 years, a lot can happen, and because the adoption to that change is not dealt with in the correct manner, it fails at the end. So I'd like to look into that more, and that if you look at the triple constraints, if you can call it that, of projects, it's always time, cost, money, and in our space as well is safety and environmental in the mining industry. So legislation changes with regards to environment or safety, and then the project still fails because you never pull that into your project with very limited influence on the success rate of the project. I hope that's
Got a sense.
yeah.
All right. Any other comments? Bruce?
I'd just like to know at some stage what systemic means. If you could address that, that would be interesting.
Share them your view on that.
Yeah, well, I actually moved away from it a bit, but it's for me at this stage. It's all about the balancing act, and not looking at the starting at 1, finishing at 10 at the tick box exercise. But as a project managing projects, you can be on top one day, in the middle the next, on the left the following day, and the bottom the day thereafter, and you have to juggle all these balls. And every discipline, if I can call it, is a knowledge area on its own. And although you're not the expert on it, you have to have a good understanding of what's going on, and it's how to balance all of that will be my view of systemically managing a project rather than a tick box exercise.
Yes. No?
In mining, is a project ever finite? Because surely in mining it's a continuum. You actually start somewhere and you carry on until you run all the mineral out of the mine.
Yes.
So
There's-
what defines a project
Successful.
per se?
And what
Yes.
makes it successful?
In the mining, I've worked for Billiton and Anglo Plat, Anglo Gold, and I'm now with Anglo Iron Ore Session. You've got your 3 basic categories, which is small, medium, and large. Where small is you have to redo this floor. Your bigger things will be 5 years, 215 million, and your big projects is I want to dig a hole 30 meters deep, so wide, and so forth, and once it's done, it's done. So you do get projects that's a start and a definite finish, but there is projects, and as a project manager, the worst word you can hear of is scope creep. You always have to protect your project against scope creep, and you have to make sometimes argue the fact, is that a business decision or a project decision? So although the business requires extra growth, it doesn't mean it comes into your project.
All right. Going forward, what do you see as the next stages in your research process? You started in your early chapters. What is the next phase that you? When do you want to clarify your research methodology to start with? When you're clarifying that frame?
Yeah, I'm still at the early stages. I've done my chapter 1 now. I'm about a quarter of the way into chapter 2. So I'm still discovering what makes project fails in the academic field.
Okay.
Although I have my idea, and that's why I said I will start my framework, first draft, that I want to take up with the professionals and the academics to be. From that, my second framework I will take to the practitioners, stakeholders, clients, knowledge area groups into the project, and I would like to test it with them. From that workshop, I will take my derivatives from it and create my third framework that I'd like to shave off a little bit more and put that forward as my framework. So that's where I am at this stage.
Okay. Any last questions, Emeka?
Yes. I was trying to get an idea of what you are trying to do. If you read literature, I believe at this stage you're supposed to be reading literature on project management. There is very good literature in why projects fail. And there is actually very good literature in why projects succeed. A lot of, if you go into construction journals, if you go to construction conferences, you're going to see very, very, very huge. What you are trying to do now is actually documented as a huge documentation of every reason why a project fails and why it succeeds. So, where you're going to find your own gap, the gap of you're trying to fill in the literature, is, I believe, what you're supposed to be saying at this point in time, and you're going to develop that through literature review. By the time you have actually gone through what has been written, then you find what is that which you are going to do. And you are probably going to tell us now, you're saying that you have a project management in the mining sector. You're probably going to tell us from a literary perspective whether there is any difference between project management environment, mining sector, and ordinary road construction or building construction that normally happens in regular place. Whether you'll be able to find that difference before you now step it down into your work as part of what you're attempting to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it is right now, I believe that you have there's plenty of literature to read. Some of them are talking about comprehensive project management aspects, and by the time you throw it out, you're probably going to begin to develop theory, which is going to make it a thesis. Otherwise, it's still going to be like a project, which you can just do that. There are so many things I believe you probably should be talking about right now that you say that you saw 36 or 38% success rate. That's what is happening right now. You're going to find out why there's that percentage. But you also going to, just like what has been mentioned, you question what is success. Is it success arising and failure also arising because of target that is set? Whether the target is actually the right thing, like Paul said earlier, whether the design is actually right. So you have to begin to deal with these issues from a philosophical perspective, so that you don't produce a project work. There are so many things that need to be calculated. And I know these are things, but it doesn't look as if you have time for it.
We can maybe talk about that.
Yeah.
But I do get a sense, Jacques, that you're very much in an exploratory phase.
Yes.
You're busy reading, you're busy exploring the ideas, the gap is not clear, you don't have a preconceived idea necessarily, although you can be very structured. And my suggestion is also that you keep your mind open, because I think you haven't even decided yet on the methodological components. So maybe you're really in the initial stages of saying, I'm worried about project success and I want to create some solution of some kind, but I don't know exactly yet what it is. And I hope that you can articulate that gap more clearer. But I think that will happen, Emeka, probably France, as he concludes his literature review.
I'm trying to stay away of putting the carrot in front of myself. If you ask, if I had this session about a year ago, I will give you the solutions. So I had to move away from it because I've got it right up in my board in my office, and I cleaned it. I actually cleaned it off, and I said, "Listen, this is not the way you do it. Get away from it and just do the journey."
But what I also sense Emeka saying, maybe not directly, and I wonder if one of the PhDs want to comment on that. Loshni, what do you think would have happened if he had a more structured methodological picture of the pathway that he wants to follow? What do you think could that do for him?
I think it's very limiting in essence, because you're almost defining where you want to go before you even know what the lay of the land is. And for me, that's the bigger picture. Like there's such out there, there's so much experience you've got done, and you've got access to so much experience in Anglo itself. You don't want to structure it. You want to understand the broader picture before you start narrowing it down. because you're almost then defining what the solution is, or the, so I think.
So as frustrating as it may be, I think that's the right thing to do.
It's good news, thank you.
That's good news.
I'll take
You've
that.
cleaned out everything, and you're just filling up your mind with all kind of ideas. And hopefully, systemically, at some point, the frame will emerge, and you say, "I want to follow a certain methodology."
Yes,
So yeah.
I don't know if I got you correctly. So I think the biggest part is trying to identify the gap, and it's more like trying to establish causality to say why do projects fail. So, like Prof said, that you've got to open up your mind and have that objectivity, right? So I believe that, okay, as someone who's in the field already, is subjective by nature. So it means that you're going to compensate your objectivity with the method. So now to open up and be flexible so that you are all encompassing, it would be great to actually maybe come up with like an issue tree of some sort, maybe where you diverge, encompass everything,
Converge.
and then that will lead to your hypothesis.
Yeah,
or
I
idea,
converge.
so that maybe you can actually correct some sort. So that's what I think.
Thank you.
Maybe you and Etta must talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a valuable way of approaching it also. It will give a little bit of more structure to it.
Thank you.
Maybe can I ask a-
Yes.
can I-
Please.
Like, I'm fascinated with the idea.
Sorry, I missed that.
Um,
No, say again.
I'm fascinated by the problem that you're going to have, and I don't think I'm just echoing what's been said already, because you said a lot about being objective, putting aside your preconceptions that there's a solution, etc. But what I want to know is, how are you going to identify the causes of failure of projects? If I can clarify, for example, again, I know you said you'd go to the academics and then you're going to go to the practitioners, and that. If you ask them why projects fail, how do you know that what they tell you is the truth? However you define truth.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, and I don't have an answer for you as such at this stage. And it's part of when I'll get there, I'll cross that bridge. Because I can tell you now, if I draw up a question mark, 1 to 10, and I put it through, I know exactly what's going to be the answers in my environment that I'm working with, and I'm trying to shy away from that. I would like to get the answers behind the answers, if I can call it that, but I don't know how to get there yet.
You know what I'm thinking, Bruce? Rika, I don't know if you want to comment. Marty, maybe you... Where's Marty? Somewhere. Maybe you also want to comment. I wonder what will happen if he, as part of his journey, I mean, that's one option you make, but if he can consider getting a philosophical frame of looking at reality and use that frame as a vehicle to go into your research. Because I hear you want to be careful in not making a judgment too quickly, but I think there are philosophical frames available. Systemic thinking is one. Thinking of reality as a disordered place is another one. There's the four worlds view. There's the integral view. Those are all philosophical frames on which we can embrace and say, let me walk through this journey through that philosophical frame, because it grounds you. I don't know, Rika, what do you think?
That was my assumption very early when you started with being objective, which is fantasy. One, as a project manager, I have been working in mining with projects I want to know already. And it's almost then a philosophical frame can then just help you to clear that. Bringing your own eyes into this extensionality.
But I hope you can talk to people around philosophical frames to answer Bruce's
I like
comment
that, yeah.
and Etia's comment. Marty, do you want to comment maybe on that philosophical idea?
Yes, we did discuss it. Your chaos manifesto will be part of his theory.
Okay.
And then adding to that systemic thinking.
Because then you take those principles of that philosophical frame and that guides you. So that you literally take an outside view almost of everything. And that's what your intent is, because you show it clearly.
Yeah.
I think it's clear on his intent. But to get into that reality is going to be challenging. But I would suggest spend time on philosophical understanding, whilst you're doing the project stuff. But before you decide on a method, get a clear philosophical ground. Charles, you wanted to ask something?
No, I just wanted to add on, maybe just to pitch in to say, possibly, is it not a good idea to actually have objective evidence after the project has been completed or not, to actually have audits? Because his question was, how are you going to know that they actually succeeded or failed? So, in essence, it would be good to actually say, what was their initial destination? And then they give you that. Then against, you look at the physical evidence. Okay, you tick. So according to, so this project was succeeded or failed?
Charles, I want to challenge you on Francois' behalf.
Okay.
So you designed a project to mine diamonds for 30 years. It's 3 years down the line, the diamonds are gone. Did this project succeed or did it fail?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Even though the business case might have failed, the project can still be successful.
Yes, and the other way around.
And the problem that I have with my research at this stage is, depending on where the article, someone said articles, depending on where the article came from and who wrote it, I can understand, or I can either use it in my studies or not. Because if it's written by a scientific team, it says it's failed because it didn't produce the heat that it was supposed to produce. But it doesn't mean the project didn't do what it could. There might be other reasons for failure, other than the scientific part of it.
I think I want to make the point, he's journeying on a very complicated road, because project can be very concrete. And when you're busy at a PhD with a thesis, it's more dense than just a concrete reality. And I mean, you're confronted with it just in this comment, because a project can be real, but it can also be intangible. And you'll have to bring up some innovative and interesting ideas so that people can say, we're going to believe you, why you think project will be more successful according to your frame of mind. So as obvious as it may sound, I think you took a challenging piece. Any last comments? Elise?
I find it fascinating. I think all of us apply to real project management that we do, so we face those challenges on a daily basis. So I think it's always where projects fail or where we don't understand really where it went wrong, is that we don't go back and look and analyse and understand the nature of it. So it was like trying to think of a word in terms of a post-mortem of that project, because you've got to use those learnings to help improve and ensure that you don't repeat the wrongs of what you did previously. And sometimes that's easy to do if you're doing the same projects in the same type of environments and that point of view. But I'd be interested, because as I say, I think all of us use a degree of project management. We talk about scope creep, just about everything we do. There's always degrees of scope creep in everything. So I think project management is applied to so many aspects in what we do on a day-to-day basis. So good luck, I think.
Thank you.
Multidimensional. Rocco, last comment?
I think, Jacques, we also need to add in the element of risk, because we tend to do something and we overlook what the risks are involved with that particular project, or even going forward, or even the strategy behind that project. Because if you're able to isolate, not isolate, but actually pick up what your risk areas are, I think your project will have a high percentage of success.
Well, Rocco, that's a funny thing, because even part of your project disciplines and part of your knowledge area is how to manage project risks, and it's something that you do right away when you register a project, when you do the study about in the project, all the way through execution. You have a complement looking at risk, not only physical risk on the project, but the success of the project. What's at risk? So even though you have it, projects do still fail.
But let me add on to that. I agree with you, but a lot of people don't seem to understand this. Because I'm doing my thesis on risk management, and I find that a lot of people do not look at risk as they should. They take it for granted. For whatever they do, they take it for granted.
Okay, so you're just making them aware of the risk domain. But I want to make a comment that if you work on projects, I sense philosophically you're making the assumption that you can control reality, and I want to say good luck with that.
Thank you.
Because I don't think you can, and therefore I'm more interested in will you really explore the underlying assumptions why in history of mankind the notion of project management came to life, and whether it's not time to question those things. Because if it's working at 39%, man, I'm not sure I will consider that as a good indicator. Well,
sure.
as a motivator to say, well, let's do project management. That's my comment, and I will hope that in that PhD you will also question the notion of project
Good
management.
point. Thank you.
Premi?
I think it's quite interesting because with project management there's so much structure, there's so much process, there's so much system in place, and you wonder why it's really important because you've got all of that structure in place, you've got all that process. The key thing there for me is the people aspect. And you did mention, I think you mentioned soft skills and you mentioned people, and I think a big part of that is the people aspect, and 9 out of 10 times we overlook that key component. I think it would be very interesting if you had to integrate the people and soft skills into your research. I think that would bring a different dimension to it.
Well, I can tell you, for those colleagues who are here from Eskom, if you look at Medupi, it's a people issue. Largely, it's a people issue.
I want to bring that in. Definitely want to bring it in. And the question is just to what extent, because there's a certain proportion of hard skills and soft skills people. Now, even if you have all the soft skills in the world, it still doesn't mean that there's success. Exactly. Now, where's the balance?
And so it's finding the balance that's
And yeah, because it changes. A simple thing like not giving people a day off to travel and come back to do the project will mean that they will start towards and you lose a week.
So you've got a whole lot of dynamics happening.
Yes.
There's purely from a people perspective, you've got politics in play,
Exactly.
you've got culture, you've got all of those things that will go and factor into project management. So I think if you want to look at why they fail, a big part of that would be around the people, and that's just my view.
Thank you.
I think I want to say the design is problematic because the success rate confirms it over a long period of time, and you're going to do a beautiful piece of work. So the guys in Sweden and Chile will say, let's wait for Pietersen. Last comment, Elise.
So talking about the people component, there's dynamics of people in a project. So it's the accountability and the ownership that could have a huge impact in terms of where the project goes wrong as well. Because if people don't buy into the ownership or the accountability of that project, that's going to have a railroad effect in terms of their success.
So almost what are the underlying assumptions? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we can have a lot of more discussion. Our time is running out. Jacques, I hope you will meet with more people. I think link with them because those are the voices that you can take with you on your journey. We don't want you to be alone. And remember, he sits far away from here, somewhere in rural South Africa. So take some of these voices with you. But thanks for making the time. We really appreciate it. Before we ask Dr. Bacher to join us, I just want to give Dr. Rika Fulun, one of our colleagues, faculty, an opportunity. She just got something to celebrate and that she wants to bring into the circle. Rika?
Thank you, Benny. Excuse me, your back's here, but I would like to sit in the circle, not stand up. Thank you for the topic. Let's do it out. This is fine. I feel invited. Thank you so much. Thank you, Benny. Yes, thank you. It is a celebration for me. I published my first book, and it looks like this. It is a textbook, and it forms part of the series on transformation and innovation that's been published by Ashgate. And one faculty members of Da Vinci, Ronnie Lessem and Alexander Schiffer, were the editors to the book. And different than some of the other parts of their series, the specific book focuses on organizational transformation. So I know that they model work with finding your own voice and then studying your environment around you, then going and apply theory and then actually affecting the world. For me, this is affecting organizations so that organizations can affect societies. So, this book was developed or emerged from the work that I've done at Da Vinci mostly in management of people side, and we also lecture similar things in our models, a module at Da Vinci. Basically saying that the world of work have changed so significantly and that one must consider different thoughts like systems thinking, complexity theory, quantum physics, all types of different philosophies and thinking, multiculturalism and multidisciplinary type of work. As the world is not similar and our understanding of the world is not similar. Also that there's rising levels of consciousness, people know more. We can Google anything that we want, we can watch Oprah, and she say things that we haven't said in the past. Now, I didn't write that in here, but and in all of this, leadership must make sense for the individuals in their organizations. And the individuals must be strong so that they can be strong team players so that organizations can be strong. But a very important part of this for me was that the work of Lorraine Laubscher that got her PhD on age 82 years from Da Vinci. There's time for everybody. You can do 5 more PhDs by then. Her work has been integrated with my own work on inclusivity. So there's a multiculturalism part of it. It's how people think different. So the name of the book is called Inclusive Organizational Transformation, an African perspective on human niches and diversity of thought. So thank you for the time to share this with you.
Where is it available?
It's available at Ashgate.
Okay.
Or at Amazon. It's expensive at Amazon, so buy at Ashgate. Kalahari, you can also get it. Some people told me that they did find it at exclusive books, but it's marked up significantly. So
But what Rika agreed, we will do a raffle of some kind, and she will donate a book, and we'll do a raffle, and then you can potentially win one of these copies. Rika, is that in order?
Yes, that's in order.
Okay.
I will sponsor that.
Thank you very much for that. We're very glad, Rika, celebrating that with you, and congratulations on that.